Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I am here today with Ruah Bull. How are you doing, Ruah?
I'm good today. Very happy to be with you, John. Um, I did want to say, John, if this is appropriate time to shift in terms of, again, our own personal intuitions, the way these things are moving or opening up,
Hmm.
clairsentience, clairaudience, all of these gifts are coming back to many people. Lee Harris, when he did this beautiful energy update, I was just thinking about this and I watched him and he actually alluded to it, where he said, if you have like an insight or an intuition about something and it doesn't happen, don't think that means that you don't have intuition or you were totally wrong or something like that. He said, because sometimes these visions are about your internal world.
Mm.
And what's interesting is for me, I work a lot in my work with different levels of consciousness. And the fundamentalist level of consciousness, no matter what path you're on, is black and white and literal.
Yeah.
As you mature, it's more complex and it's not literal. It can also be symbolic. So, for example, if I had a dream about a flood, well, I don't live that far from the ocean.
Yeah.
So, if I've got, a floodplain on my property, I'm going to be making sure I don't have my cars in it, get the dog out of it, have some sandbags. I would also go around and take a look at my toilet, my plumbing, my sinks and faucets. I was talking to a friend the other day who said he heard this. I think this is probably why I'm thinking of flood as a image. He said I heard this weird sound. I'm walking down the hall and some little thing had come off of the toilet and there's just water, all over the place. He's got a half inch of water in the back part of his house. So I do that, you know, take care of the physical plane, but I'd also be thinking, what does the symbolism of flood mean to me? So lots of times our visions are about the outer world, but also there can be very much about deep inner meaning.
Mm.
So I would be looking at, are there ways in which I'm feeling flooded?
Mm. Mm.
And maybe I'm just spending too much time on TikTok or something, or watching too much news, or getting in too much information. Maybe I'm being flooded because I'm around a lot of people who are suffering right now, and I'm kind of flooded by their emotions, and I need to do some clearing so I'm not carrying their pain in the way that I'm carrying.
Mm.
So we can all learn together how to relate to this as it opens up in a more kind of, I think, complete and complex and deep way. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. It definitely does. And it also made me think of the work of Neville Goddard.
Oh,
Uh,
tell me.
well, he was the one, he became an expert in, an expert in conscious creation, if you like, right?
Oh, all right.
Okay. But, it's sort of like live as if a wish is already fulfilled, that kind of idea, so you have
Hmm.
to immerse yourself in the emotions of what it is you're trying to achieve. But the other
Hmm.
thing that he spent a lot of time studying was the Bible. And what he spoke about with that is that he said that too many religions took things literally, whereas
Yes.
it was supposed to be symbolic. You weren't
Yes.
supposed to kind of and some religions do, right? Some of the smaller religions, they go off on an absolute
Yeah,
tangent, just like believing this is literally what it is supposed to be.
that's
Whereas in
right.
reality, he then would interpret it in his own way, which made an awful lot more sense because you could apply it to yourself. You could apply it personally into life in different ways because it was symbolic.
Well, there was an ancient uh, Christian philosopher, theologian by the name of Origen, Origen. And he spoke about how you're meant to read the scripture in four different ways. One of it is historically, are these things historical or not?
Hmm.
Um, uh, there's no evidence historically that the Exodus from Egypt ever happened. Maybe it did, but nobody can find that in actual history. Then he said, you look at it, morally. It's like, what is the story trying to tell you? Um, and then you also would, so you look at it morally, ethically, and spiritually. What
Mm,
is the
mm,
deep meaning? So the way that non-fundamentalist Jews look at the Exodus is whether they believe it is historical fact or not, what they focus on is we were captured and in slavery. And
mm.
how are we being enslaved? And what was the process of gathering together and finding the courage inspired by Holy Mystery to leave that captivity? How the captivity comes, you try to leave an addiction and it's coming after you.
Yeah, right.
And there's even a part of you going, it wasn't so bad because when I just ate a loaf of bread, I just didn't hurt so much anymore. Those first two drinks feel really good. All the ways in which we can be seduced back.
Mm, yeah.
40 years, 40 in Hebrew tradition means a completion of time. It takes time to get to the new land. So that's been in the tradition, but that understanding was lost.
Mm,
And what was brought forward was this rigid fundamentalism and literalism. I mean, there are people over right now in Israel trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. It's like, I mean, wow. That would be like what 3,000-year-old wood. It's pretty amazing. But God bless them, they're over there looking for it.
yeah.
So we just need, I think that every spirituality and new age, new spirituality, this is an emerging spiritual story. It's only been around for 100 or so years. And one reason why you and I are always talking about discernment is we want to make sure that we don't fall into that literalist place
Mm,
that is one of the traps on a spiritual path.
yes. Yeah, absolutely it is. And, you know, I think you learn through experience. It's like when you watch YouTube in general, and I'm not criticizing YouTube because that's where Elevated Planet sits, all our shows. But, you go through, there's a lot of prophecies. There's a lot of, and actually, there's a lot of them that I pay close attention to. We're talking about Lee Harris and the Z's, for instance, okay? Because, you know where they're coming at it from.
Yeah, you can feel it.
You can
Just like you
feel it.
put your hand here, you can feel it.
Yeah. And yet, again, the literalism there, sometimes you have to kind of and and just work it out and I suppose here's the thing, right? One of the things we're always encouraged to do or being encouraged to do, like from the conditioning and programming point of view, is not living in the present moment. It's worrying about the future.
That's it.
It's
That's
beating
it.
yourself up about the past.
That's it. Yeah.
And yet the truth is that we only ever have the present moment.
Mhm.
And when we can get into the present moment, we are at our most powerful,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Feeling gratitude for everything we've got going around us right now. And okay, so we have this programming and conditioning which is leading us astray, which is also encouraging us to take things literally when they shouldn't be taken literally. But at the same time, again, it come back to this thing. And again, you said this earlier in terms of, like from a psychic point of view, you've got to realize that you're not perfect. That we're not, we're human, right? Within the human being, there is light and there is shadow because that's the way it's supposed to be.
That's right.
Everything is a balance and it's integrating the shadow with the light that is
That's
really
right.
important.
That's right. That's where you get the wholeness. Exactly.
Yeah. So I do find it fascinating that once you understand that, you stop seeking perfection, right? You start self-acceptance and self-love comes so much easier when you realize the shadow exists for a reason because that's part of who you are. Yes, you
Mhm.
are going to learn, you are going to grow. One of my favorite quotes is experience is the quality you gain usually immediately following the moment you've most needed it.
Right.
We learn through experience in our entire life. That's the way it's supposed to be.
To be.
And
That's
that
yeah.
enables us to grow, but not. what we resist persists, right? So
Right.
if you resist your shadow, then it's going to stay there a lot longer and a lot deeper.
And when it comes up, it will bite you a lot more painfully, or it'll manifest in the external world in a way that's uh, quite difficult. Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
It's I know this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, so you can see if this makes sense in terms of this conversation, but since you mentioned it, um, when you use the term we create our own reality, I always have a feeling of kind of that um, energy of joy that you come from,
Mm,
which is that that's one of your gifts as you bring that joy. But what I watched for years um, is when people would say like get cancer. Well, you created that. I used to turn to people and say, as you're saying that, I'd like you to pay attention to what's happening in your heart. Because what would happen is people would use it to shut. I don't have to feel compassion. I don't have to feel scared. I don't have to feel sorrow. I don't have to feel worried. I don't have to feel love. I don't have to feel like I want to help because, well, you created it. So there you go. Um, doesn't have to be used that way, but that unfortunately, and by the way, I think I recognized it because when I used to do rape crisis work back in the 70s, I would see, victims would come in and they would say, well, it happened because I was wearing purple pants. And then other people would say, well, it happened because she was wearing purple pants. Well, the psychological function of that is to give you a sense of control. I know why it happened to me. And if I never wear purple pants, it won't happen again.
mm,
And I know why it happened to her. And if I never wear purple pants, it'll never happen to me because it's too scary to think in terms of gender karma.
mm,
Americans
mm.
get obsessed with individual karma, and all the Hindu teachers go, you people are nuts. You all think you're so sick with individualism. There's individual, family, gender, culture, ethnic, racial, planetary karma. It's like, you are not in control of the universe. You're a part of these karmic circles that manifest. So anyway, um, so when I would hear people say, well, you created that, my own belief, John, and this is my story, and other people have other legitimate ways of understanding it, is first of all, if something in me created it, it's not my conscious self, it's my
No,
unconscious. So,
exactly.
so I can't be responsible for my unconscious because by definition, I don't know it. So, say, for example, when I used to have a migraine, and somebody would say, well, why did you create a migraine? That wasn't helpful. It just made me feel, not only in great pain, but ashamed and guilty. So thanks a lot. I got enough of that growing up in the Boston Irish Catholic Church. Shame and guilt. I don't need any more of that. Thank you. But what I would do is I would go inside and I would invite in the migraine maker. Okay, honey, what's going on? Why is this happening? And he always came in as a man in this big tin outfit that went clang, 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 which hurt like hell to hear. And he would say, well, your body's been trying to tell you to take a break for a while, and you've been ignoring it, ignoring it, ignoring it. So we've just knocked you over the head, and you got to stay in bed for 3 days. And I was like, uh, oh. And then I could say, could you tell me some of the earlier signs that meant that I was, well, how about you're in bed and you're reading and your eyes are drooping, but you are determined to finish that darn chapter, so you push yourself to finish it. There's a there so
Yeah.
but it wasn't like me, Ruah. I could like bring in the migraine maker.
Mm,
Or if somebody is like, I used to work with a lot of people with cancer, and I'd never say, why did you create that? And because some people would literally come in, John, they were as devastated by that as they were by the diagnosis. But I would say to them, is there something that you can learn from this experience? So there's a way in which it's asking a similar thing. Is there meaning? Is there information? But one is, you know, you've made this happen. So sort of shame on you and stop whining. And the other is my deep inner wisdom, is the universe, is the divine, whatever you call that, bringing me something that I can deeply learn from. So it's both of them can go into meaning. It's like, what is this about for me? Is there something like, can I use this cancer to grow or deepen or heal? But one way comes in with words that can sometimes shut down the heart and hold the other person at arm's length, and the other invites and opens, and we're sitting in a place of together of let's explore this. And by the way, I'm not in charge of what it means for you. I might have an interpretation, but that's over here. What does this mean to you? And if you want to know my hunch, I can share it with you. But I always, and you probably heard me, I will always say to people, well, this is my advice, take it or leave it.
Mm.
Or, well, this is what I'm picking up, but this is just me. I'm careful to language in that way so that people do not give me inappropriate authority for their life.
Yes. Yeah, that's and to our the point of elevated planet, we always caveat ourselves by saying, we share our truth, but whether you regard it as truth or deluded nonsense is right for you,
Is
right?
right for you. And I would expand that out too, whether you in truth, deluded nonsense, or an honorable truth, and you stand in another truth. I mean, as a spiritual director, I work with people who are Christians, Buddhists, a couple people who are Jewish, one woman who is Sufi, a whole bunch of New Agers, a couple of pagans, um, one agnostic, and one guy who's an atheist who calls me his existential coach. I can sit with people and honor really different stories
Mm, mm,
because they're all paths going up this mountain. So you might present something on Elevated Planet, and this even relates to our earlier conversation. Somebody might say, that doesn't quite resonate for me. I'm kind of more here, but that doesn't mean it's diluted. There is stuff out there that is diluted nonsense. And I'm with you. If people are trying to make you afraid,
yeah,
run for the hills
yeah.
because that is not serving the fear does not serve the light.
Mm-mm.
So if you're, in fact, somebody gave, oh, who's that really dear man? There are a couple people I watch who have long interviews with folks, and I think he's Persian. He has the most amazing smile. He always
Oh,
wears a knit
is it
cap.
Amir?
Yes,
Amir?
Amir. Oh, yes. He has a face that is just the most. He's just radiant. Um, and he had he had something on YouTube a while ago, and I don't know who puts the names on them, but it was this inflammatory. Everything is going to like blow up. And he got feedback. And again, I don't know if he's the one who names it or if YouTube does, where people said, I almost didn't open it up because this
Mm,
energy is so negative, but I know you're not like that. So please pay attention to what they're calling these things
mm, mm.
because I wanted to access you, but I'm not stepping into something that's going to get everybody, get their hair on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's the temptation to go into this clickbait thing where you are trying to get people's attention. And to be fair, I mean, like when we do our titles, I always tend to head for the
Oh, it
positive rather
always
than the
is.
negative, right?
Yeah, it's always with you. I can always hear your voice.
And it,
We're entering a new time, and yes, there are challenges, and here is how we deal with it. And this is, and when you're saying about the past, present, future too, I love that because part of it is how do I stand in the future? There you go. How do I stand in the present? Slip of the tongue, and be aware of how the past might be impacting me. Like lineage, whatever. And I appreciate the people like Pam who were talking about some of these patterns or the Hopis or many of the people that you have in the patterns that are unfolding. And I don't do the, tomorrow Mercury is here, so it's going to be this kind of a day. That kind of
mm,
getting into the weeds doesn't,
mm,
I don't want to see what the planets are doing. I want to see what I'm doing.
mm,
Um, but that's personal. But I like knowing the big frame because again, that brings meaning.
Mm.
That I'm looking at this stuff we have happening. I won't use an expletive, and I'm aware of it, and I'm sending money and writing letters and all the things that I feel called to do. But I'm going to focus on we're living during the dying of the old that is preparing for the birth of the new, right?
That's it. That's it. And you know, this is something that again I've kind of learned as well, is that all this stuff is supposed to happen, right? This is all in divine order. And it was interesting a couple of weeks ago on the show, actually, we were featuring a piece that I thought really resonated strongly, which is that all these things that are going on at the moment, the bombs and all this kind of thing, it's a way of unwinding karma of the past. It could have been thousands of years ago, right? But the earth holds that energy, and the earth
Mm,
has to release that energy. And this is kind of like a karmic cycle coming around to release the energy to allow the movement forward. Because we know that, you know, Gaia Mother Earth is a living being and has karma the same way we do. And we know the atrocities that have been committed over the thousands of years that are held in the earth and that have
right,
to be released. So this
right,
is part of that pattern. Um,
right.
so you have to kind of view things through a very different lens
Hmm.
and realize
Hmm.
even the perpetrators are playing a role, which again, we talk about light and shadow, right? Some are here to play a very shadowy role, but that is creating space for more light over here.
Over here. Well, and you know, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, and I have a lot of friends who are very liberal and who are out of their mind with distress about what Israel is doing, the genocide in Gaza, and this stuff right now. And one of them is a Jungian analyst, and she said to me, "You know, Ruah, what happened is the trauma that was not processed after the Holocaust went into Israel. And when trauma isn't processed, victims become perpetrators.
Mm,
It just flips."
yeah.
So she said a lot of folks who were Jewish who were horrified by the Israelis, you know, I'm not going to say all of it. I don't know enough about it, but certainly in terms of the destruction of Gaza, are acting out the shadow of the victim, which is the perpetrator.
Mm,
And so she's coming at it that way and getting involved with other folks who are Jewish to pray, to do ceremony, to try to support the people in Israel who are saying this is madness.
mm,
So it's like there's Gaia's process, there's the karmic process of a people. Um, I mean, I saw somebody talking about Trump years ago saying that the narcissistic obsession with status and having to spray gold on, I mean, he represents the shadow of late stage consumer capitalism in America perfectly. So we're seeing our shadow. It's
yeah.
right there in front of us. Now, how do I respond? How do I respond? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So lots of different perspectives, and find the one where you feel like you can ground. I love I've been working a lot with the Two of Pentacles in the Tarot. And in the deck I use, it's this guy in like a fool's outfit, and he has these two pentacles, and he's like a juggler.
Mm,
And I kind of feel like what a lot of us are doing now is we're kind of in a time of earthquake. How do you ground when the
mm,
ground is
mm,
shaking?
mm,
How do you take a stand when everything is in tumult? And
mm,
that's what a lot, and I think finding an understanding, a meaning that can help ground us,
mm.
that helps us stay stable even when things feel very
Yes.
topsy-turvy.